My name is Sterling Hart. Welcome to Dreamlight. This is where we work on dream interpretation and then taking the insights from dreams and using those in the waking life. The best way to learn dream interpretation is really to do it for yourself. I usually say in the workshops that I've given in the past that you need to do about 10 of them kind of as a formal process. This is where you take the elements, you take the time and go through each element and develop it. You might be writing it down. You might be just talking to yourself about it or thinking about it while walking the dog, but just focusing on each one. And so you kind of check each one off. And then it's good to summarize at the end, and that's good to write down, at least for the first one, so that you really have it out and look at it. The next best way, of course, is to have someone else do that, is to watch somebody else decode their own dream and work with the symbolism and just get into that kind of space. Making those associations, you're seeing how it links to memories and how these symbols that sometimes seem pretty mystic and obtuse suddenly maybe make sense to you. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a dream that I had this morning. I woke up and I dreamed that I was driving in a car and I'm going down this narrow cement hallway. It's kind of a dark cement and there's kind of like, it seems like there's maybe apartments or stores or rooms, almost maybe subway-like, and I'm driving down and I see this person walking in front of me with a backpack. He's really tall, it's kind of a green backpack, and I think I'm gonna turn and follow him, and then I kind of hesitate and I continue down and I go down this little ramp. When I arrive, I'm suddenly in somebody's bedroom in this big open cement space. I get out immediately and I want to turn the car around, but I need to move his stuff around, and this guy who owns this apartment or lives in this bedroom suddenly comes up to me. And I'm ready to be very apologetic, I'm sorry I have to be in your space. And he seems very happy, and we come up and we hug, but he's like got his elbows up like this, and I can't see his face. And when we're hugging, it's a little bit more like a clinch, but it feels good. I'm happy. He kind of has his happiness that he gives, and that's where I wake up. The first thing we want to do is to take the dream and put that into elements. And so we have this driving in the car. We have this person who walks in front of the car. We have the situation itself, this narrow cement space, and it's dark cement. And then we have the ramp. We come into a bedroom kind of situation. There's this need to turn around. And then this person comes up and he's got this strange kind of, he's rounded in the back kind of posture. And he's very happy. And I'm ready to be apologetic, but we end up hugging. I feel this happiness. So once we have the elements, then the really the most fundamental technique and the thing that will serve you well that dream interpretation can train you to do is to have this reaction of asking questions. And that's really the most fundamental thing, is to ask a lot of questions. So the first question would be, you're in this car, are you with somebody? And the answer is, yeah, I think there's somebody there. It feels like there's somebody there. When I think about turning, it's almost like I'm referencing somebody in this space. And this seems just kind of like your general driving the car mode. What do you think about the space that you're driving in? That you mentioned dark cement, or does this remind you of any place? And the dark cement does. It reminds me of being in India. I was in India 25 years ago and stayed in an apartment. And one of the things I remember was there was no carpeting or anything. It was just this kind of bare cement, very minimally furnished because I was, visiting there for a month. Also, I saw a reference in a TV show where they went into some sort of abandoned mall, but yet there were all these homeless people in it. And so that seemed, at the time, that seemed a little contrived. Like I didn't really think that space would be that well inhabited. What about the guy with the backpack? You said a green backpack. What do you think of the green backpack? He seemed tall, he seemed young. He seemed kind of bouncy, maybe energetic. And I kind of associate that with that kind of that happy vibe. And he was very quick. When I go, there's this moment of indecision about turning, and I decide not to. And I think that relates to, I was at an intersection recently where there was a person on a bicycle taking up the lane because there's no dedicated bicycle lane there, so I get it. But he was very slow. There was a second lane and people trying to go around, and that just didn't seem very safe. So there's this moment of wanting to get to the turn and whether he was going to turn. And so it's just this like, kind of driving stress moment. So I think I'm trying to avoid following somebody, a pedestrian, Another question might be, do you know where you were going in the dream? Did you have a destination in mind? I don't. I really don't know where I'm going. In fact, I'm aware that I don't know where I'm going. I have a final destination, I think, but I don't know how to get there. I go down this ramp and I arrive at this bedroom. And what do you think about ramps? Generally in dreams, it seems like I'm going deeper. It could be that I'm being pulled down. That would be kind of another physical metaphor. But I think in this case, it seems like I'm going to a deeper level. What about cars in dreams? Well, usually cars represent your vehicle. Personal associations, always super important in any kind of dream interpretation situation. If you've had a recent experience with a car or you bought a new car, that's going to represent something different than cars in general. In my case, I think of the car as a vehicle. It's the thing that gets you through life. So a job could be a vehicle. So your job might be symbolized by a car. It can be kind of this ego extension. It could kind of be you identify with it. People identify your car with you to some degree, and your car can reflect who you are. So certain kinds of sports cars or your big truck. In my case, I think this is my vehicle. So I think I'm going somewhere. Usually in my dreams, because I have a dream history, I can say that my dream symbols tend to show me that a vehicle going forward is making progress. So I'm not being overwhelmed, I'm not reaching a bridge or a point where I have to make a transition to another place. But here my vehicle is going deeper, and I enter into this bedroom space. What do you think about bedroom spaces? There's a sense of your nest, or that being a center point. There was a black futon. That was one of the things I needed to move, was he had a black futon out. And that reminds me of a futon I had back in college. In some ways, it reminds me of me. What do you think about the guy? The guy reminds me of somebody. It reminds me of my friend R. And my friend R travels all over the world and is really good at going into a new space. Even like a car rental space, he can walk in there and he can strike up a conversation really easy with anyone. He has this kind of vulnerability and this energy that just kind of charms people and makes them feel comfortable. Partly that's due to his job. He's a yoga teacher. He's used to taking a space and making it very meditative. And he often can be really funny. And so in the dream, he's coming up with this kind of strange position where his elbows are up. And that reminds me of self-defense classes years ago, what to do if you're kind of cornered by people that are pummeling you. You have 2 or 3 people ganging up on you. And the idea was to cover yourself, protect your head especially, and take that moment to then change the psychology and attack out and seize the initiative. And in that space between their reaction from you being the victim to you attacking, you have a little bit of space that you might be able to get free. And so it seems like that, and he's rounded too, almost fetal position, but he's still upright. When I go to embrace him, there's this almost like a clench kind of feeling, like you'd grab somebody to keep them from doing something. And so there's this little bit of fighting with it, but yet there's this happiness. So it seems like an ironic symbol. What about moving stuff in the apartment? Well, that seems like I need to get the vehicle turned around and moving. It doesn't occur to me in the dream. One of the things I notice, what would I do really in that situation? I'd probably back up. But it doesn't occur to me in the dream to do that. I'm turning around. So does this relate to anything in the waking life? And I would say, yeah, this relates to putting more content on YouTube. Going on, I'm making progress and going deeper. And there's kind of this confrontation a little bit with the vulnerability about what to say or what you can talk about a dream, personally, and also in referencing other people's dreams, because I've had a lot of experience in talking with people about what kinds of things you can share about yourself. Also, what kinds of things you can share about others when you're talking about somebody, not maybe using the real name like I did with R. Another thing is I've heard a lot of other people's dreams, what you can share about that, and it feels okay, feels comfortable, you're not revealing it. You're also not kind of stealing their dream in that sense, but using it for illustration. I think I've kind of turned around on that. And the other thing is the emotion. The happiness is that, there's this, one of the things with R is this sense of sharing. So I think it's that part of myself that gets excited about doing this channel, that likes to talk about dreaming. I used to do workshops in it. I've had a class where I did philosophy for a long time, where we sometimes did the dream parts and sometimes the theory, things about the subconscious, the subliminal, precognitive dreams. And so I'm really excited about that kind of material. And so I think that's part of the happiness, is this sharing, but yet there's this sense of keeping a safe space, keeping a personal boundary. So I think that's really what's going on there. Why do you think it references India? I think that references a personal conversation. It had to deal with the pandemic, really had to do with filling out forms in a certain way, that you needed to fill out the forms, and a lot of people were filling out the forms and paying a little extra money so the form said what they wanted it to say. And it was really a question of they needed to do this under these horrific conditions, pretty much what I would do and could relate to. But I think that conversation affected me. It was a person who has a lot of compassion and has a very good ability to keep cool in a situation and handle people's issues and emotions. And so he was doing that for his family. So I think that kind of comes in. Also, I think with India, one of the things that I relate to is, I did long ago, I did South Asian dance. I'm a person who was very shy as a kid. And so one of the things about that is a projection of dramatic elements that got me kind of comfortable with things. And then, as a yoga teacher, I'm used to being up there in the front and leading things and explaining things to people. The cement seems to me like the essential, it seems like the basic things. And so I think that's one of the things for me personally, to do this channel, I need to communicate on a level where if you don't know much about, your dreaming and your subconscious, then you really need those essentials first. And then after you build up experience, then these more important insights into the nature of reality and things like that, those have to come later when you have that foundation built. So that's one of the things that I've kind of been focused on, is keeping things focused, that narrow pathway as we're driving along. Okay, to me this dream makes sense. It's just reflecting back to me kind of where I am in this process. One of the things about dreams is I kind of know where I am in this process, and I know kind of, if I think back, which things affect me. Which things emotionally have been kind of in my mind and stay there. They kind of cling a little bit in your mind. I'm pretty aware of that. And one of the ways I got to be very aware of that was doing dream interpretation. So I think that's really part of it that's, very important, is that, eventually with dream interpretation, you don't need to do it. Eventually with dream interpretation, you kind of already know where you are. And that's handy, because then there's actually a deeper level to dreaming that you want to get to, but you can't skip that stage. You really need to go through there, investigate that, and when you have that, then you can begin to build on it with deeper insights. If you like this content, you find it interesting, useful, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and more content will be coming.